greetings. Just checking the system, making sure. Okay. I'm still getting used to this thing. It's starting to work like everybody else. You just hit a button and there you are. Take a couple of deep breaths. YouTube is finally catching up to the rest of the world. Alright, greetings. Thanks for joining us for the weird part of YouTube. The land of the insane. Yeah, this is not for normal people, for sure. So we're going to continue on. Those Anunnaki fans out there, we have only just begun. This might be the Anunnaki fan person, or male and female fan. Was it fanboy, fangirl? I think it's worth exploring. Even with myself, I'm feeling, I'm diving into more of my history, publicly, whatever that means. But I'm feeling, obviously, backlash from somewhere out there in the human community. Let's put it that way. Not everybody, but some, which is understood because this is kind of a controversial group. Enki and Anu, if I'm pronouncing it right. I never got that deep into who these guys are, but I guess I'm getting my binge watching. I don't know if it's on Netflix to get my. I don't know if I need to know too much about them, but either way. What else was there? Another thing. Yeah, I'm feeling some backlash a little bit. Not. I just feel it. So I can make it kind of go crazy, but that's okay. But the other thing is the alien connection too, meaning that bringing these beings in is getting some other alien energies. I want to use the word nervous, because I don't think what I'm bringing in is negative or anything like that. But I'm feeling more of an alien presence recently. On a spiritual level, I'm not seeing anybody pop around or anything like that, at least not yet. Which would be more than welcome to. I mean, it's almost like, and I want to go too deep into it, but it's almost like I'm understanding them a little bit more from their end. Like even their own vulnerabilities. Something around those lines. So, enough of that. I'll give you a quick update. I've been kind of slow on answering questions because I'm slow. So I'm finally over on the news site finally. So that's what kind of slowed a lot of things down because I had a transition over here and I pretty much got banned from my other site, not from the site itself, but from the payment processor. So that's fun. Everything went smooth overall. It's just it's a pain in the neck. There's a scheduler, or a channel. Google Hands Zoom and channel by phone. Everything's not exactly where I'd like it to be, but it's I think decent overall. It's just getting used to it. I have to fix some stuff still. Here I'm on the 26th of July. Same situation here. Other channelers and healers I do recommend: Social Network, Rabbit, Early Access, and Dating Site. So I want to say thanks to those for your support. And yeah, we're just in the beginning stages of all this. So okay, we'll do Enki first and go into Anu, and we'll go completely insane after that. So if you're not already there, I think some of us have already passed that. Yeah. So I think there's one more thing. I know I'm kind of oh yeah, I get little tidbits This is so this is a channeling technically. This is from Enki about the reptilian side of the human, of uh, of stubbornness. You know how people say, "I have the answers. I know the answer. I know the truth." You know, and obviously there's different layers of truth. Like, okay, I know the Illuminati and all that, but that's as far as I'm gonna go. And there's a lot of stubbornness that keeps somebody, it's like a stop sign. That's as far as they're gonna go. They'll go to all that, everything Illuminati. You know, I'm not gonna go into details, but you get that idea. But then you have the alien energies, and you got angels, and you know, there's different. The stubborn side, it's not all reptilian, but a lot of it is. It's just that it's for the soul's protection. They're just not ready to. They have to experience it where they're at. Through where, you know, and eventually they'll have their eureka awakening whenever the time is right. So, but either way, if you're wondering where some of that comes from, is reptilian. It's part of it. So we might dive into that universe here. I'm already feeling exhausted already. So, all right, blessings. And we're going to continue this tomorrow, just to let you know. We're not done with this. Hopefully the internet still is okay. So, alright, blessings, here we go. Greetings to you. This is Enki. Yes, our energies are with you. Of course, the domino effect. Your connection to their past. Your birthing. The human invention. Or realize there's many alien beings. A lot of it was reptilian to create your form. Of, yes, to control you. To interact with you. To every alien being had a certain type of lesson they wanted to learn on this world. So, the human is not as cut and dry of its creation. It went through a lot of, you can almost say the human was a mistake in some ways. Meaning that a lot of things were tried. We don't have to go into the full detail. But you can say that this world was intended for giants at one time. A world of giants. And yet you'll have other humans here, but it was basically a giant planet. But I want to say that the human is a mistake. But it's just like any type of experiment, something new is found. And the human was, yes, as you might have heard, the one that worked the best. To combine all the lessons into one human being. As yes, it was attempts of a reptilian, a feline, and there were others. Let's just leave it at that. Well, ocean being, basically. A sea being. But, yeah, as your jargon is, at the end of the day, now realize there was a lot of wars to this. Realize also, when the human was created during Atlantean, the human wasn't all the most important. There were so many different various versions of a human that there wasn't, we didn't all just sit around this is going to be part of this planet. There's so many different versions of human that were invented. And even having human here all together was not really the true plan of it. Not necessarily. But that was, we're not going into detail, that's not important. We'll tell you, it's not important. But basically, yes, there were many different types of humans here. your human as you are today outlasted everybody else. Not that it was easy, but it did progress much quicker than the others. Because you can add all these lessons into one being to learn, as where even the feline and reptilian have their own limitations. Because you have a feline thinking being, and you have a reptilian thinking being, and it just the progress, what you can go for, was much more grand with the human. It's like, why go to 50% when you go to 100% of what you can learn? There's potential. Not to say the other ones have less potential, but what we wanted to achieve here, the human was a perfect candidate for what. Yes, it's basically all the world's problems in the one being, basically. Notice how a lot of beings feel like the problems of the world is theirs. It's because you're dealing with all these alien. That has a lot to do with your DNA, basically. Because you're connected to the Earth and in all the alien species here. The weight of the world is on your back. That's where that comes from. Not everybody has it. Some people feel it. Not everyone. A lot of felines healed it as a regular felines. Like, I'm just going to focus on myself to hell with everybody else. But a canine is known to want to help everyone. The canine is also very connected to, you could say, the angels. As a devoted healer. Canines are known to be healers that follow you around. Angels, your guardian angels are very similar in that way. So you have a canine angel following you around. We'll let you connect with that. So the dynamics of where you come from, as basically you took all the DNA, kind of put. It's not that easy, but it's almost like the short version is like we put you in a microwave and cooked you up. But it's not that easy. The Atlanteans were very much part of your creation process. And Anunnaki is part of your third dimensional process. So, yes, we interfered, we added our own thing. Some alien, there's many wars that went on, or skirmishes, of what's going to go into the human. Yes, there are many other alien species that have been forgotten also, that we don't need to go, that are part of DNA strands of the human at this time. A lot of them are insectoid. Insectoid beings aren't always known to last forever in current form, in certain forms, at least in third dimensional level, even fourth dimensional level. They still exist, but not in the numbers that they used to. DNA does break down. As many Anunnaki, as even the human. You look at the 1950s, many of you don't look like a 1950s human, but some do. Some can come off as a 1950s human. Or a 1920s human. 1920s, 1950s, and current look very different. Actually, depending on who you are, in the 1920s, a lot of them look healthier than your current human. Because they were healthier. Obviously, correct. We don't have to tell you this. So, now the DNA strands aren't to us that important. Basically, your dynamics of where the human, from where you were to where you are today. Is basically you're being changed currently into a space being. A being not necessarily going to breathe in space, but basically you're adapting more to it, more adaptable to that environment. Once again, you're not living out in space, but for the body to receive downloads a body has to adjust for certain information from astral. It's another reason why you look different in every era. And you have to adjust for you to take in the information. We do see many beings becoming less large and more of a finer fit of human in your future when the time is right. Basically, your foods will be healthier. Yeah, I've not quite reached that just yet, of course. There's a lot of lessons to be learned, downloads to be understood, even DNA to even disjoint for purposes. Some want to, yes, tangle the DNA, don't even understand how that even works. Some of you are working on your bodies all the time, you don't even realize it. Certain foods to take in, it's like, how's my body work with this type of food? How's my body work with this type of food? You switching foods and things like that. So your current timeline of, yes, disease, which has been, in the background. There has been a mental disease of programming, of how the mind works. How is it reaching? Why is it so easy to program to a certain level? Realize also those your media makers, knowledge, media controllers. A lot of them are on a reptilian frequency. There's a feline frequency too. What is the frequency that humans are? They're just used to it. Is it what they're saying, or was it the frequency they're connecting to? And they just go by what they're being told to say, believe, Democratic, Republican, whatever it might be. If you think about the frequency that's being put out and the craziness that goes into it, they're just doing what they're told to do. And especially a celebrity who's not really a soul to begin with. There are many souls there, depending on the celebrity. They're a spokesperson of your reality. So of course you see where the narrative is going. So elites choose a certain political party to rule. And you're kind of seeing that right now. Who's the majority? Let's put that way. Why the elites do that? Because it's part of control, but it's also they have to put themselves somewhere. It's like they become comfortable and they have to make it as crazy as possible because they don't want it to heal. Not to say any political party is perfect, but the human, once again, is on a frequency. As you heal that frequency, you see, awakening will occur. That's a difficult frequency to heal. As yes, you're not hearing it usually. Some of you can probably pick up on it though. As your alien energies re-enter your earth in the physical, they can block out those frequencies themselves if they wish to do so. This is very common for the gods to control a society. Who's being controlled? It's being pretty obvious, isn't it? Who's the most brainwashed? Who are the gods controlling? Who are the gods, for that matter? I'll let you figure that one out. I'm not here to say that. It's not Anunnaki, no. As we are the backbone of your society, we're not here to run the show completely. But there are some that are, of course. As Archon energies to how to program your society, Anunnaki took it a step further, but we're not necessarily in the driver's seat. But we are around, of course. Yes, when one changes their gender, that's not always, but a lot of times a sign of an Anunnaki being. It's just, that's where I feel the most powerful at. It's usually a male turning into a female. Usually, but not always. They want to connect to the dominant species. Greetings to you. I am Anu. yes. A controller being, yes. You can say your humans became out of control. As we were setting the stage for your reality, your humans became uneasy to deal with. So we gave them something to do. We scared the hell out of them, basically. As they disconnected from your Atlanteans, they became ours. They became slaves. As your society is currently. That you call freedom. As you call a job, a career in slavery. Now we're here to mock or anything like that, so don't be too mad at us. So as your humans disconnected from Atlantean knowledge and became in your current state of mind, they lost their power due to their own choices. And what were we to do with them? They weren't listening to us, so we had to put fear of God into them and tell them what to do. Because if it wasn't for that, they'd be running around the place all day. And not in a positive way. Now it's more structured, and they're still running around the place, not always being the most positive being. Because as they disconnected from the fourth dimension, yes, they got ugly. A lot of them became murderers in their early state. They didn't know what to do. They were looking for food. They chose the food themselves. Some of them wanted to kill. So we gave them something to do, which is work, slavery. It wasn't necessarily all about gold. It's just gold is the easiest to remember. But it went much more to that. Society needed a structure. And the only way to do that was to force it on them. They were not just, we can just walk over to, hey, do you mind doing this for us? Or for yourselves, for that matter, making your own clothes. No, it was not a friendly gesture. Humans were not friendly at that point. They lost the fourth dimension knowledge. They were lost. So as they were part of a slave society, they eventually evolved into a civilization, as you call it today. Now you can be angry at us all you want, but there wasn't much we can do from a being that lost control of itself. Now it doesn't mean we treated always the best, but they weren't exactly treating each other that well themselves. They were barbarians. Now some of you might look at the timelines where they're all kissy and fuzzy, but that was a very few. And that is one of the reasons why your populations grew quite a bit. Yes, so there were some that were very loving to each other, but for the most part, many were barbaric. They had no direction. They created their own language, but we assisted. But overall, that's still a human language. We assisted with finding the language within yourselves. But once again, now we didn't get involved with the violence of your society. We there to heal us. Of course, some might think differently. As yes, we were harsh at times, yes. Sometimes we had to remove DNA that was causing violence. But of course the human found a way to do so. So, to give you a little bit more detail, notice we have to move a little bit. You can take this as you wish. Some humans that lack intelligence, third dimension, will use your George W. Bush, for example. That type of human was really, you can say, psychotic at one time. So we removed a lot. For them to be kind of stupid, but easy to manage. We had no choice. Once again, your humans had a barbaric energy that is not in your, well, it is in your history. As it was much worse in your history. As when they lost themselves, they truly lost themselves. Now some would go and meditate and connect to God. There was few and far between of that. Most of them wanted to eat each other. Eventually they found animals to do that, but it was a barbaric society once again. and we weren't ones to interfere too much. Of course, we had assistance from other alien beings, but we were the most prominent on giving direction, as many other beings really wanted no part in it. It was almost as if get rid of this race altogether. That was the plan. One of them, at least. It wasn't going to happen. If we didn't move in, somebody else would have, but it would have took longer. So we added our contribution. We're seen as creating a human race, when in truth we are just there to bring guidance to your race. But you can see it as any way you wish. We're not exactly. Yes, we were worshipped. Well, someone had to bring guidance, and yes, worship, because we brought food, water, rain, weather to your society. So yes, we were worshipped, but we weren't looking for that. But someone had to bring you some kind of direction. Yes, Anunnaki aren't exactly the most kindest of humans, but then again, you weren't exactly kind to each other. As some of you might be able to remember, when you lose your superpowers, your powers of God, because humans had those powers to a certain level, and misused the hell out of it. As we watched it all. We watched humanity destroy itself. We stand in the corner and watched it occur. Atlanteans fighting humans, fighting other beings. They weren't fighting some Anunnaki, yes, but for the most part, you say the higher Anunnaki stayed out of the way. Wasn't our war. And there were reptilian beings there was many beings that were testing humans to see what its weaknesses were, and they found a great deal of them. So the Atlantean human that you come from became very unstable, like a bomb. And it wasn't living. Now they were living well as maniacs. Yes, you can continue to do that, but over time that became, very destructive. That's why you no longer have an Atlantis. Why you don't have the knowledge that you used to, because majority of it was all destroyed. So the human had to be reborn, and that's where we came in. We weren't babysitters. We just bring direction to your world. That is all. You want to call us whatever you want, that is fine. Yes, we weren't always kind to your race, no. It was brutality. It earned its brutality towards itself. But many warned of its lost powers. Many wanted to be magicians, and that's where your Babylonian realities. Not everybody was a barbarian either. See, when you disconnect from Atlantean power, everyone disconnects differently. Some kept some of their wizardry. Some became druids eventually. As this wasn't a fast process either. But re-educating the human was not something we were looking forward to. But it seemed like our path was the right one at the time. Once again, someone had to take it. There was Egyptian energies eventually, and everyone had their own. There's other civilizations that are not mentioned also. Your Mayans was actually the more positive human in the beginning. The Babylonians, no, we're not. The Mayans were actually, yes, more. They were just directed. They knew, those that still had magic within them, a positive magic. A lot of the dark magic went to Babylon, of course. But a lot of the positive, they stayed together. They understood what was going on, but others were so disjointed. They just went to barbarianism. It was just easier. This isn't the whole human race, but it's a lot. So that's where you have your slave race that came in. We had no choice. Now, could we have upgraded the human? It was personal choice. They could have changed their ways. They chose not to. So it might be seen as slavery, but once again, it's like we gave them something to do. And they chose that path. They had a path. They could have been more positive. They could have been more easier for us to work with, but they chose not to. It was easier. They needed the hardships. They needed to be, seen as a lower humans. They weren't lower, but to them, that's where they needed to be. You don't see humans as a lower class, but they kind of made their own classes. We weren't there to make class. Humans did that. Yeah, we can't govern everything, even if we're told we are. So that is a short glimpse into how things worked in your past. And you see it today, those that are part of the frequency of control. Those that are part of the major frequency of control are part of the slavery of the past. And everybody's been there to a degree. But many of you have woken up a long time ago. But others find it a better life. They have made it work better. They have television. They add comfort to their slavery. They had television, they have Netflix, they had whatever it is to their slavery and called it normal. And they are the mass majority. Not everybody wants to be a part of that, we understand. It doesn't have to be that way. But the mass majority chose that. As you are walking your planet, you'll see other choices evolve. Of course, somebody say it's easy, impossible, but anything's possible. Blessings. Blessings.